Good morning. Welcome to Ask the Expert, a daily series from 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. to help small businesses. Please ask any questions you may have in the comments box below, or if you're on Twitter, use the hashtag QBATE. If you need any more advice after this and you haven't already done so, I do recommend you join the official Intuit Quickbooks SMB community group on Facebook. Accountants and business experts are on hand 24/7 with lots of help. During the live session today, we'll be running a poll, so please do engage with it and I'll reveal the results at the end of the session. For those of you who haven't seen me before, my name is Judith Dugdale. I'm a chartered accountant and I am based in the northwest of England. I did an accountancy and finance degree at Hull University back in the late 90s, and I joined MHA Moore and Smalley in the year 2000 on a graduate trainee scheme. I've been at Moore and Smalley ever since, and I've dealt with a whole range of clients from small businesses, startups, all the way through to subsidiaries of large multinational and international companies. Latterly, I focus my attention on small business and micro businesses, and with that, cloud accounting and all the associated apps that join in with things like QuickBooks Online. I head up our digital solutions team at Moore and Smalley, and what all my clients have in common is that they use cloud accounting software. There are over 1,000 clients at Moore and Smalley using QuickBooks Online and any associated apps that go with it. And we provide ongoing support to those people, as well as setting up the digitalisation of their accounting system in the first place. The ongoing other support that we provide is the normal corporate compliance work, such as annual accounts, tax returns, VAT returns. But in addition to this, we also help them fund growth, and we work with them using things like cash flow forecasts, management information to enable them to achieve their growth potential, as well as making as much money as they can from the services that they provide. As a firm, Moore and Smalley is a large independent firm based in the northwest of England, as I said before. We cover Cumbria, Lancashire, Merseyside, Greater Manchester, and we also have an office in Nottingham. We deal with all types of businesses across lots and lots of sectors, and each sector has its own little specialised team. So we have a charities team, professional practices team, manufacturing, construction and property, hospitality and leisure, to name just a few. As I said before, the digital solutions team looks after people that use cloud accounting software. So we actually deal with people across all sectors, with a lot of online retailers and digital marketing companies, as well as children's nurseries and people from all the other sectors mentioned before. What our team do is we plug into the specialist sector knowledge some of my colleagues have, and we were able to provide that information to our small and micro businesses that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. I'd say in the last couple of years, we've seen a lot of micro businesses set up, a lot of independent consultants as sole traders or small limited companies, as well as lots of just general startups. And that is still happening through lockdown. We've also got in lockdown the returning businesses. So the advice we are giving to our clients is widespread and covers all of those sorts of scenarios. So the advice that I'll run through with you now before I start taking some questions could equally be adapted for a new startup, as well as a business that has maybe been closed for part of lockdown and is now slowly reopening. So what is the advice that we're giving? Well, it all focuses around cash. I'm sure you'll have heard the phrase, cash is king, and it really is. Without cash, your business can't continue. You can continue whilst making small amounts of losses, as long as you've got the funds in place to continue trading. At the moment, what we're experiencing for our clients, and particularly those clients that deal business to business, is that there's a working capital squeeze at the moment. And by that, what I mean is that your suppliers want you to pay them faster than maybe you did before, or maybe want money in advance or money on delivery, and your customers that you're dealing with would like to pay you later. And that cash squeeze is the fact that you are having to give out money first and you're getting that money back in later. That can have a real impact on cash flow. So what we do with our clients is sit down and do what we call a rolling 12-week cash flow forecast. And it's split down into a weekly basis, and it's reviewed every 2, 4, and 12 weeks. It continues to monitor how well your cash is performing on a weekly basis. So instead of doing some forecasts to attract funding and then not looking at them again, it's really key that this 12-week rolling forecast is revisited on a weekly basis and redesigned every 2, 4, and 12 weeks. What you will find when you do one of those is that you find the pinch points of where cash is going to be really tight. And this enables you then to talk to key stakeholders, such as your customers and your suppliers, to see if there's a way that you can get some of your money in quicker and maybe hopefully get some credit with your suppliers to pay them later. There is also ways that you can approach your bank to help you with these temporary cash flow issues. So there's things like overdrafts, which the banks historically used to give quite easily, and then latterly have been a bit more difficult to get. But for a small business, an overdraft can be really, really helpful just to overcome those dips in cash flow. For slightly larger businesses, you could also look at something called invoice financing. Invoice financing is where the bank or a third-party lender will give you cash against the sales invoices you're raising to other businesses which are going to be paid later. So, for example, I issue an accountancy invoice to an organisation and they want to pay me sort of 30, 60 days down the line. If I had invoice financing, I could get a percentage of that invoice up front. So therefore, I've got cash coming into the business before the customer pays me. Obviously, there are lots of interest and charges and other things around that. So always seek advice from your bank or your accountant before entering into one of these. And I have to say the invoice financing solution is possibly more applicable to slightly larger businesses. The micro businesses will probably struggle to get the invoice financing as you need minimum levels of turnover, but an overdraft would work very well. In addition to that, please remember as well that there's lots of funding available from the government still at the moment. So there is the CBILS, which is the Coronavirus Business Interruption Loan Scheme. That is for small and medium businesses who can borrow money and pay it back over 6 years with no repayments in the first year. There's no personal guarantees if you borrow up to £250,000. You can also use that CBIL for overdrafts and invoice financing as well. It doesn't have to be a term loan. If you're more of a micro business or a very small business, you may want to look at the business bounce back loan instead. That is where you can borrow up to £50,000 and it's based on your turnover. So smaller businesses will be able to borrow slightly less. Beauty with that is, again, no personal guarantees at all, no repayments for the first year, and the interest is paid by the government in the first year. Just a quick note on those, the CBIL, so the Corona Business Interruption Loan Scheme, that actually ends on the 30th of September. So if it's something that you're wanting to look at and you haven't already done so, please make sure you approach your bank or lender in the next few weeks to make sure you get an application and funds through before the 30th of September. The business bounce back loan has a little bit longer and that ends towards the early part of November. There's also, I just wanted to point out, the self-employed income support scheme. So this is for self-employed people. So if you're a director or shareholder of a company, this doesn't apply to you. But if you do a self-assessment tax return based on a trade that you carry out or services that you deliver, and you have a UTR number, then you can apply for the second round of the self-employed income support grant now. It went live yesterday. It's slightly less than the first grant. It's capped at £6,570. And you have to have been adversely affected on or after the 14th of July. So unfortunately, if you're back up and running and you're at the same levels of income that you had before the COVID-19 pandemic, then you won't be able to apply this time. However, if you are back, but just still turnover's down, or you've experienced an awful lot of costs, and therefore your profitability is down, you are able to apply. And don't panic. If you didn't apply for the first SEIS grant, it doesn't mean you can't apply for the second. So I encourage all of you out there to apply for these grants that are available if you've got those cash flow issues. One other thing I just wanted to mention is I'm sure any of you that work in sort of an office environment, or you're not in retail and leisure or hospitality where you're having to be in front of your customers 24/7, you'll have noticed the ability of working from home. And that is something that I think businesses need to remember going out of this pandemic and setting up a new business. You don't necessarily have to go out and get office space straight away. A lot of what people do can be done from home now, and the costs associated with that are quite low. So it enables you to retain a little bit more of your cash if that's what you want to do. So what I'm going to do is start taking some questions now. If I don't get through a question that you have sent by the end of the session, please feel free to pose that question on the SMB community Facebook page that I mentioned before, or you can send them direct to me at digitalsolutions@mooreandsmalley.co.uk. Okay, so I'm going to go to the questions now, and we've got one in from Ben, who sent a direct message from Instagram. And Ben's message says, "Hi Judith, when starting a new business for the first time, what would you advise are the most important aspects to have in place?" Ben, this is a great question, and I see an awful lot of people coming to me for advice on setting up a new business and what's involved. First and foremost is a plan, and you come across really complicated business plans, and they don't have to be, but what you do need to know is what it is that you're trying to sell, or your goods, services, whatever it might be, who you're going to try and sell those to. So what's your market? Where are you going to buy in any supplies that you need? So who would be your suppliers? And looking at the cost of those supplies. What else do you need? Do you need assets, sort of laptops, digital equipment? Do you need premises? How much are they all going to cost? And you need to look at almost a starting point of how much investment you need at the start, and then look at how much income you're hoping to generate and what that income is based on. Is it based on what some competitors are doing? Is it based on experience you've got in the same field but working for somebody else? And by putting together again, a bit of a 12-week cash flow forecast, as I mentioned before, you will be able to see, one, are you going to be generating more income than the costs associated with it? And if so, from day one, that is great. The amount of cash that you're going to need to invest into that business will be less. But for most businesses, there is quite a bit of investment up front, and it will take a bit of time for you to recover that. So personally, you need to make sure that you can cover your personal expenditure as well, in case that business that you're starting won't be able to generate enough income to cover maybe your mortgage or your rent at home. So just plan out how much you think you're going to be taking back home within the first sort of 3-4 months without leaving the business in any need. Jessie from Twitter, direct message. She says, "I'm a freelance working on music projects, and I've found business has improved more recently, and keeping track of everything is getting harder and harder. Do you think now is a good time to get an accountant?" Well, as an accountant, I would always recommend that anybody that runs their own business has an accountant on hand. We're not just there to calculate your tax at the end of the year or produce your accounts to prove how much money you have or haven't made. We're also there as a sounding board, somebody to help with ongoing advice and give you the benefit of our years of experience. It's possible and probable that we will have come across everything that you're going through. So therefore, instead of you trying to work that out yourself, you can lean on us to help you. As well as getting an accountant, I would advise you to get your accounting systems up to speed. So if you do use QuickBooks Online already, make sure you're aware of all the facilities within QuickBooks Online. There's plenty of little tools in there that will really help you keep track of things. You say you work on music projects, there's a project facility within QuickBooks Online, which would enable you to set up each one of your customers as its own little project, put costs in against each one of those, and then match up the income as it comes through. This will enable you to see which projects are more profitable than others, and maybe as you get busier, help you decide which customers you would like to work with more in the future. The next message is a Twitter direct message from Hassan. Hassan says, "Hi there. For a new business, what are the advantages of being VAT registered?" This is a great question, Hassan. VAT registration comes with a lot of bureaucracy. For example, you have to keep records so that you can justify the VAT that you're claiming back and paying over. Currently, you have to keep digital records under Making Tax Digital if you turn over more than £85,000 worth of VATable sales. But going forwards, and from April 2022, all businesses, no matter how much they turn over, will have to keep digital records. So that's just something extra to keep in mind. Advantages of being VAT registered, they depend on what sort of business you are and who you are dealing with. So, for example, if you mainly deal with the public, then they can't claim VAT back. So anything that you sell and you add VAT onto, if you're selling that to individual members of the public, you are increasing the cost of that product to them, or you have to absorb that VAT into your price. If you're a smallish business, micro, and you turn over less than £85,000 and you are dealing with the general public, you may be better being not VAT registered, as your prices could then well be a little bit cheaper than your competitors who are VAT registered. Obviously, one of the advantages of being VAT registered is that you can claim back the VAT on any goods and services that you buy in for your business to deliver goods and services to your customers. Again, if you're in an industry where the goods and services you're buying don't have VAT on them, or maybe you're dealing with very small businesses that aren't VAT registered, then you becoming VAT registered isn't necessarily going to be a huge advantage to you. An advantage that many people cite of being VAT registered is that it gives the impression that you are larger than what you may be. So, for example, a new business setting up is going to be turning over quite a small amount to start with. By being VAT registered, anybody that comes across you and sees that you're VAT registered will probably assume, well, they must be turning over £85,000 or more, otherwise why would they be VAT registered? So it can just give a little bit more kudos to your business and make it seem like you're slightly bigger than maybe you are. Question from Cooper from Facebook Messenger. Cooper says, "Morning. Have you seen businesses benefiting from the stamp duty changes made recently? How do you think it may benefit my business?" So, Cooper, yes, we have. Simple answer for the people that have benefited the most are estate agents, because people have gone out there and decided to maybe buy new houses now, whereas they were putting off because they want to get the stamp duty savings. From yourself, if you own property, maybe you own business property and you're thinking about putting that into a company instead of you owning it privately, now is a good time, again, with the stamp duty changes. If you're into property rental and things like that, or you've got excess cash and you're thinking, what could I do with that cash? I don't need it for a long time. I'd like to invest it. Instead of maybe investing in other businesses or investing in stocks and shares, what you could do is you could start by buying a rental property and looking at investing your money that way. There are rules around stamp duty in terms of second homes and things like that. So I would always make sure you're engaging with a solicitor and an accountant on these types of questions. And your personal circumstances are taken into consideration, not knowing exactly what you do or what you may have been thinking about doing because of the stamp duty changes. I can't fully advise you on a one-to-one, but definitely there could be advantages for you. The next question is from the Facebook live feed from Vicky. Hi, Judith. She says, I went limited in July. Can I still apply for the income support grant? So in theory, Vicky, if you were self-employed up until July, as far as HMRC are concerned, you have self-employed income in previous years that you can say is adversely affected. However, they will think that if you set up a new business as a limited company, then you should be trying to get grants and financial support via your limited company status now. And it also will come down to, is your limited company now trading in a better way than you were as a self-employed? The other issue is if you were self-employed with a self-employed business account, if you're now a limited company, that bank account is the details that you need to apply for the self-employed income support grant. And I would just be really, really careful that you don't fall foul of any of their rules about trying to gain financial support in circumstances where it's possibly not meant for you. I would say on this, I probably need a little bit more information from you. I'm quite happy to answer that in a bit more detail privately if you want to email me at digitalsolutions@mooreandsmalley.co.uk, because I probably just need to find a little bit more about you. As in, if you've gone into a limited company but you're still not trading yet, then there may be the opportunities to get that income support grant. However, if you're fully trading as a limited company and getting lots of sales in, then I don't think you will be able to claim it. A Twitter direct message from River. Hi, I'm new to QuickBooks and still learning about the features. Do you know how long I can forecast cash flow in QuickBooks? So the cash flow tool in QuickBooks is actually very new. So probably only came out around the same sort of time as you joined QuickBooks, River. The way that it works is the cash flow tool is that it looks at previous cash flows within your business. So it will look at the sales and purchases that you've made to try and forecast what your cash might be. So if you're very new to QuickBooks, then the feature may not forecast too far in advance. It may only do a month or so based on what information it's already got in. But you could use that as a basis to start maybe forecast in Excel or with one of the apps that link with QuickBooks, such as Futurely. You'll be able to pull out the information into one of those apps and then do a longer term forecast. I got a message from Kaya on Facebook Messenger. Kaya says, good morning. I'm hoping you can help, Judith. Do you know what information I need to set up a limited company? Right, so limited company. This is where you are setting up a separate legal entity to run your business through. And you will be a director and shareholder of that business alongside possibly other directors and other shareholders. So if you're setting up a limited company, there are a few things that you need to do. So first of all, check if you're doing this by yourself or with any other people. Agree with them how many shares everybody's going to have. If it's just yourself, then you're going to have 100% of the shareholding. If you're doing this with, say, a friend or a business partner, then you need to decide how many shares, percentage-wise, each one of you will have. For any of those directors and shareholders, you need to know all their personal details, such as their home address, date of birth, national insurance, and you will need some information, things like either off a driving license or a passport, to get that set up. The second thing you need to know is what you want to call your company, and you can't call your company something that already exists. So the best bet for you to check on a company name is to go to the government website, Companies House, which is companieshouse.gov.uk. And on there, there's a facility to search company names. And if you type in the name that you like, press return, it will show you all the names similar to that exist. If the one that you like isn't there, then that's great. You can proceed with setting up your company. In terms of what you need then is you will need to go to the website, the government website. You will set up your own account with them. And then you can set up a company online, and I think it's as little as £15 to set up a very basically structured set of general articles of association and memorandum of association for your business. And you can do it within 15, 20 minutes online yourself. Depending on how your business is going to be structured, and if there is more people within that organisation, so maybe you've got a business partner who's having 50% of the shares, you may want to talk to an accountant about getting your business set up with what we call alphabet shares. And alphabet shares is where one person has an A class of share and somebody else will have a B class share. And that means that you can pay each other different amounts of dividends. You don't have to have the same amount of dividend. If you just split your ordinary shares between the two of you, it's a rate per share. So if it's a £1 dividend per share and you have 100 shares, it's £100 to you and it's £100 to your shareholder if they have the same. So again, before you set up your limited company, do a little bit of research on the internet. If you've got any friends or family that are in business, accountants or what have you, speak to them about it as well. The good news is that it's very simple to set up and you can set up a company within 24 hours once you've got all that information together. Okay, so hope that helped, Kaya. The next question is from Faye, a Twitter direct message. Faye says, do you know how many years I have to be trading before I can take out invoice financing? Faye, it completely depends on the funder that you're going to. So the general banks have different terms in respect of how long you've been trading. I would say as a minimum, you will find that people want at least a year's trading before you can go on to invoice financing. But there are some people out there, depending on what business you do, who may do it less. There'll be some that are a bit longer. I would go to your bank first and have a chat with them. Some of the banks, particularly I think NatWest and Barclays, do a smaller end invoice financing as well, which may be a bit easier for you to apply for. So yeah, please speak to your bank in the first instance. And also you can go on the money market compare websites and they have a bit of information on there as well. So I'd said I would come back to the poll results. So the poll question was, would you rather save or invest your money in the current climate? And I can reveal that the answers were 33% of you would rather save, none of you would just choose to invest in at the moment, and 67% of you would like to do a combination of saving and investing. To me, that makes perfect sense. I think with what everyone's been through in the last 6 months, it's really key that you make sure you retain enough cash within your business to go over any more humps and bumps along the way. We may have a second wave, businesses may have to go into local lockdowns. So yes, keep some of that money saved. But equally, once you know the base level of cash you need within your business, look to invest in your business with the rest of that so that you can grow. Thank you very much for your questions today. If you do have any further questions, get in touch with QuickBooks support team on Facebook or Moore and Smalley and myself direct using the email digitalsolutions@mooreandsmalley.co.uk. For lots of advice on business planning alongside the latest coronavirus financial support, please visit the website www.mooreandsmalley.co.uk and click on Restart, Recover and Rise Above Hub. Coming up on Ask the Expert tomorrow is James Haskell, one of the best known rugby players and sports people in the UK. James has a multitude of business interests, ranging from his own fitness gear to running a professional DJ business. And tomorrow he'll be speaking to you about how to diversify your business interests. Just a reminder that if you need any more advice, please join the official Intuit Quickbooks SMB community group on Facebook, where accountants and business experts are on hand 24/7. Thank you all for tuning in this morning. I will see you soon. Have a great day.